I'm Lance Phillips. Today is National Happiness Day. I'm overjoyed.
I'm Josh Ryan, and you okay?
I'm fantastic.
Sure? All right.
I'm so happy today.
Okay, you're usually just so fired up
I'm
in the
so happy
opposite direction.
to be
that
spending my Tuesday evening with my good buddy Josh Ryan.
Okay,
I'm really enthusiastic today.
Clearly. This is going to be an interesting show.
Yeah, no, I'm like super pumped to be here today. I'm super pumped to be here.
Nice.
Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan with you for the gloves are off. I'll minimize the smile a little bit.
That's probably a good idea.
Probably a good idea. We've got a couple of good guests joining us
Yes.
later in the show. Sadie Rustica and Kat Bain from the U18 Lloydminster Liners, who had a good tournament in the softball championship, Canadian championships, and not so good a tournament from a team perspective. Didn't get where they wanted to be. We'll talk about that coming up in the show. Of course, you can reach us on Twitter at GlovesTV and Facebook, The Gloves New Cap, and
Instagram, Twitter,
everything.
Don't forget the single Twitter handle. So you also got Lance Phillips TV, and you also have Josh.
That's
Ryan
what
Sports.
I was waiting for there. Of course, we're going to be heavy liners this
Very
week,
much
Josh.
so.
You know, the tournament, fantastic tournament in Lloydminster this past week with some great teams in the mix. And why don't we start there with the liners themselves, who went 3-6 in this past tournament, losing out in the consolation round, did not make it into the championship final, finishing 11th after the round robin.
Right.
And then ousted after they were beaten by the Richmond Islanders 5-2 on Friday. Saturday, then after a rain delay, a lengthy one, beaten soundly by the Calgary Adrenaline 11-2 mercied after 5 innings. Josh, should this team be happy with where they finished?
I would say no, they should not be happy. I mean, you want to do well when you play in your own tournament. When you get the opportunity to host a national championship, regardless of what your standing is going into the event, you want to have a really good showing. And it's not that they didn't have a good showing at times in this tournament, obviously. Definitely some bright spots.
There's some pretty good teams.
There's some good teams and some bright spots.
Really good teams.
But when you just look at it from, every athlete wants to compete and do well. Every athlete wants to perform well, especially in front of friends and family. And it's not to say that their expectation should have been, we need to medal. But I would say most of those athletes probably go out of the weekend going, I wish I had played better. I wish we had done a little bit better, especially in the playoff round.
You are your own worst critic, though.
That's
and
true.
That is going to be
That's
the case. I'm not even sure if you win a gold medal game, and there's people out there that would win the gold medal and say, I wish I'd done this better. I wish I'd done this better.
That's true. I'd probably do that.
And there's some really good teams.
Yep.
Realistically, there's a big gap between the top 3 or 4 teams and the rest. And then you get down into the placement levels. Calgary Kaizen went 0-7. They didn't win a game until late in the placement round. I think that they should be happy with this. It's a great learning experience. They've got girls that are underage on the team. Kat Bain is 15 years old. I mean, that's incredible that she's playing with 8 and hit 4 home runs. She led the tournament in home runs. She was tied with her teammate Tyler Lee. I think that they should be absolutely pleased with this. Yeah, they didn't get where they probably wanted to be, which is in the championship round. But to beat up on some good teams, they beat the Calgary Adrenaline earlier in the tournament, a team that beat them in provincials. They got to be pleased with that.
Yeah, I guess I'll rephrase it to maybe just slightly disappointed, because I think what you're saying is correct, that there are great teams here. They had some really good games, that comeback win obviously at the end of the round robin. And certainly it's a great experience for them. But I think individually as athletes, and this isn't a slight to the team, because I think from an expectation perspective, they don't necessarily have to be disappointed based on what they were ranked going into the tournament.
They knew they were going to finish under
But at the same time, I think there will be a level with a lot of the athletes going, I wanted to do better, I wanted to perform better, and I wish I'd performed better. And that doesn't mean the weekend was a waste or the weekend isn't a great experience. It just means as athletes who are competitive and going down the road, for those of them who play, into their 20s and so on, maybe playing college, they'll want to try to achieve even higher standards as an athlete. That is what I mean by disappointed.
Girls, be proud of yourselves. You did a great job representing your city, and everybody is proud of you, us included, even though he doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, apparently I just don't like you, according to Lance Phillips. And something Lance Phillips didn't like, and we're going to get to here in a second now, is one of the things that was most obvious in a lot of the inconsistencies of the games this weekend was a lack of fundamentals, particularly with fielding through a lot of teams. And certainly there's a shock to Lance, a shock to many people there. Why do you think, say, for example, say throwing at the wrong base when you have runners in scoring position after a single or something like that, why do you think that there was such a lack of fundamentals at an otherwise good tournament and a high-level tournament?
It's pretty simple. It's because they did not learn these fundamentals at a young age. And when I mean a young age, these girls are young. They're 15 to 18. I'm talking 10 years old, maybe even younger than that. You are drilled, these fundamentals of the game are drilled into you, okay? On a single, you don't throw the ball to first base, you throw it to second. I saw so many girls try to throw out a runner at first base after a single into the outfield, inevitably throwing the ball, overthrowing or underthrowing, and the player automatically takes second. That hasn't been drilled into them at a young age. And now they're reaching an age of 18 where they don't have these simple fundamentals and don't understand certain aspects of the game. They're not going to get it. It's passed them by at this point. And if you don't know it by the time you're 18 or 17 or 16, you're not going to get it at that point. I'm sorry to say. And it was shocking to see some of the plays that went on at this Canadian Championship tournament and think they don't know simple fundamentals of the game.
I think there's two things there. One is that some of this can be contributed not necessarily to a lack of fundamentals, but sometimes simply mental mistakes or lack of mental toughness in some cases.
Focus on what you're doing then.
But you see that even at the pro level. I mean, how else can you explain a guy like Chris Webber in a national championship basketball game calling a timeout when he doesn't have a timeout? Things like that happen, and as you said, they're young, 15 to 18 years old. You're going to see more errors from athletes, male or female, at that age. The second thing, though, which does account to the lack of fundamentals, I think that means it's a big focus for, I think, youth coaches in every sport. We need to be able to teach athletes good fundamentals when they're 10, 11, 12 years old. Sometimes that's not going to happen when they're younger than that because you're teaching them certain basics, but you're just trying to get them to be active.
You're saying coaches failed them when they were young then?
I'm not saying failed, but I'm saying they weren't necessarily putting them in a place where they could succeed as most they could.
So they failed them because I believe at some extent coaches did fail some of these girls because there's a lot of talent at this tournament and I believe if they don't have those fundamentals at this point, they were failed somewhere down the line where they did not get taught them properly.
But you could also make that argument where you say coaches failed them. Perhaps we're failing the coaches or failing the players ourselves by not supporting the games enough or supporting coaches enough that good coaches want to coach kids when they're that age instead of deal with the parents and deal with other problems and not get paid for it. Because you need really good coaches at this age group, and sometimes they just don't want to be involved if it's going to be that much hassle.
Speaking of failure, Usain Bolt failed. Well, sort of. Picking up a bronze medal at London recently, losing to Justin Gatlin in the 100 meters. And Josh, is this going to stain his reputation as the world's best sprinter?
Oh, heck no. Not even close. You win 3 straight gold medals. You're arguably the most successful athlete in the history of Olympic sport. I mean, outside of Michael Phelps, is anyone else going to make the argument that there's been a more successful athlete than Usain Bolt in history? I mean, maybe not even Olympic sport, any sport. When you look at Usain Bolt, you could maybe make the argument that it was certainly surprising, and it's not the last image you would have wanted to see of him. But, I mean, it's the World Championships. People will only remember the Olympics at the end of the day.
It's insane to think that he lost by 3/100ths of a second.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that in 3/100ths of a second. Seriously, it's incredible how quickly or how short that time frame is for him to lose. And not only lose to get second, he got third.
Yeah.
And I've got to agree with you here in that there's no stain on this guy's reputation. He's been an incredible, not only an incredible athlete, he's been really a pretty incredible person. He's done a lot of great. He's been just a fantastic guy for sport in general, especially for track and field. And without a doubt, regardless of what happened at the IAAF World Championships, he still goes down as the best sprinter of all time.
And one more thing to throw in with this conversation, Justin Gatlin, of course, has that, steroid past. Some people will also look at this like,
it's past. Just what you said, it's past.
And fairly or unfairly, some people will say, you know what, this is a guy that cheated that beat him. So they won't necessarily look at it in a sense of a guy legitimately beat him in a race, even though the argument can be made that at this point Gatlin has served his time and he is clean, in fact.
I don't have a problem with players. Quite frankly, I don't even have a problem with players doping up if they want to run in the Olympics.
That's another conversation.
That is another conversation. But, it's in the past. It's done. It's over. He's not on that situation anymore. And it's kind of cool in a way to see somebody else take the reins. I mean, you could make the argument that there's something to be said for greatness, and you know, if Bolt wins that, you know, he just continues his greatness. But there's also something to be said for the underdog winning something, and I don't have a problem with either of those scenarios. And I like what I saw. I thought it was an excellent race, and Bolt handled it just like I expected he would. Great sportsmanship afterwards, waving to the crowd is farewell, essentially. And
that ultimately became a bigger news story because he lost. If he just won, we would have glossed over it probably in a few hours. One of the disappointments, though, in addition, for some people, obviously Bolt was a disappointment, but one of the other disappointments for Canadian fans was not having Andre DeGrasse compete and have a shot at winning. In fact, we'll show you later, his time at Rio was better than the winning time at this World Championship. Unfortunately, injury puts him out of the competition. Derek Drouin, gold medal high jumper, also out of competition, and that had me wondering today, is there any real interest in Canadian track and field from the average sports fan when you lose your medal contenders? Is there any reason to watch?
Yes, is the answer. I'm not sure that every Canadian feels that way. Okay. You know, and obviously that's a general statement. Not every Canadian is going to feel that way. But I'm not sure that it matters if there are medal hopefuls. You're just seeing great athletes do great things, representing your country. So you ask me that question? No, I'm watching it regardless of who's there. I mean, it'd be great to see DeGrasse in that race. It'd be great to see Derek Drouin do his thing in the high jump. He's the reigning world champion and Olympic champion. And there's going to be a lot of Canadians who would argue the other way. No, I'm not watching if those guys aren't in it. But there's a lot of great athletes. There's some great stories that can unfold from these events. And yeah, it's something I am definitely paying attention to.
Yeah, I agree that there are great athletes, and I wish more people shared your sentiment.
Sure.
But I don't think most people do, unfortunately, because people watch hockey no matter what. That's the end of the day. It's our sport. And then you have a lot of people who watch the Jays and watch baseball. You have a lot of people who watch the CFL. And you have a lot of people kind of in the next tier that maybe watch basketball, a little bit of soccer there. After that, a lot of other sports fall off. And unless their teams or athletes are winning, you're not going to see them get the same kind of attention. And unfortunately, track and field is one of the things. When Donovan Bailey won, it was an awesome spectacle. And then we kind of forgot about track and field.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
We kind of forgot about track and field until DeGrasse came in Rio, which is, 20 years later. And that's just the truth. It's not like the U.S. where every form of athletics on some level gets support. It's just not the same in Canada.
And unfortunately in Canada, the 100 meter is the one that people really pay attention to. I mean, back when Ben Johnson was the man in Seoul and then was subsequently not the man anymore, you're right. It kind of took a backseat. Athletics and track and field took a backseat until Donovan Bailey came along, and that was maybe one of the best sporting moments in Canadian history.
Oh, for sure was.
And then you're right, it's kind of died off, and that's what I was saying, is that not every Canadian feels the way I feel about it. It's great to watch a lot of our amateur athletes compete at these events, and there's great stories to be told, and not just winners of events. Right. I mean, there's some really good stuff there.
Really good stuff.
I hope that Canadians are taking in these events, despite the fact that a couple of our top athletes aren't there.
Agreed. I
and that's, agree. I mean, that's all I can say about that. And I don't think they all will, but needless to say, the Rogers Cup is an event that a lot of Canadians will be taking in, as it is becoming possibly the 5th Grand Slam. Well, not really, but it kind of feels that way. And there's some top-level athletes in this, Josh. But it begs the question, does a Canadian like Milos Raonic or Eugenie Bouchard need to win this event in order for tennis to become more popular in Canada?
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. It might even be more than winning the Rogers Cup. It might be winning a Grand Slam. Wow. Or essentially, the image needs to be a Canadian tennis athlete winning a major on-television tournament. You've seen the sport really grow in 5 years, a lot, because of the success of Raonic and Eugenie Bouchard. And you'll see people be invested in this Rogers Cup tournament as long as athletes from Canada make it to the 3rd, 4th, semifinals, quarterfinal rounds. But until one of them actually wins a slam, I don't think tennis will ever get to that next step where it's one of the favorite sports in Canada. It's growing superpower, Canada, as a tennis country in the world. But they really need to see, someone really needs to win that Grand Slam or this tournament in front of Canadian fans, I think, for it to take the next level.
I mean, Rafael Nadal is in this. Djokovic is in this. Federer is in this. Yeah. You don't need a Canadian to win the tournament. You just need to have big names that young Canadians can come and see. I mean, Milos Raonic, for all the good he's done for tennis, I'm not sure that he's as important for winning this event as it is to have big names at this event. I mean, obviously winning the event would be huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes without saying. But having these big names and having children being able to watch these kids and have them literally the distance from you and I away at sometimes, that is massive. And I think the more big names they can draw, the more people they can pull into this tournament and make it even more successful than it has been, that is going to lure young people to want to play the sport.
And I think, you know what, on that point, I agree with you. I think they're almost there because you see, Roger Federer is going to play in this tournament, Rafa Nadal. The only big names that aren't playing are injured. And so really, they're really close to that.
They're probably in it if they aren't injured.
Yeah, they're really basically at the point where this is one of the top 5-6 tournaments in the world. I still think it would be nice to see that one championship because it'll be such a story when it happens. Something that has been a big story in Canadian sports is Jose Bautista clearing waivers. Many people thinking, oh, we're just getting rid of one of the greatest sluggers in the history of the franchise and certainly the leader of the team over the past couple of seasons. He's now passed waivers, so it's more of a formality allowing them to have the ability to trade him. But a lot of people also see this, Lance, as maybe it's one foot out the door now with the team and Jose Bautista.
Jose Bautista will not be a Blue Jay in 2018.
I agree.
I mean, this is a formality. I mean, and the Blue Jays have still not actually confirmed that they put him on revocable waivers. But it's been widely reported that he has been, and it's a formality. If they want to try and move him before August 31st, the issue here is that he has 10-5 rights. He's played in Major League Baseball for 10 years, and he's been at least 5 years with the Blue Jays. So he has essentially a no trade clause. But if he doesn't get traded by August 31st and he stays with the Blue Jays, he still will not be. They're not going to re-sign this guy in 2018. So anyone who's enjoyed watching Jose Bautista in a Blue Jays uniform can enjoy it for a little while longer because the Jays aren't making the postseason and Jose Bautista is not coming back next year. And nor should he be back in a Blue Jays uniform. As far as does he get traded, I'm not sure another team wants to pick up his salary. And if they end up doing that, you can be rest assured the Jays are going to eat part of it. They're going to say, hey, we're not paying the rest of this. You're going to chew on some of it, and then we'll take him. And he's not fielding well. He's not even hitting the ball well. But if he can produce any postseason magic like he has before, he could be big for a team.
And that's the thing you just said at the end there. He's a weakness on the field as a fielder. He's a below 250 hitter, doesn't hit home runs the same way.
He's barely hitting over the Mendoza line at this point.
And why would you want that as your big pickup at the trade deadline? Maybe there's an outside chance someone would pick him up to use as a DH, but if he's not even hitting, why bother getting him as a DH? And that's a big price tag for a DH who doesn't hit well.
Again, you would hope as the team that acquires him that he can help you in a playoff run because he has produced previously in the playoffs.
True.
I mean, the bat flip, that's all I need to say.
True.
Is bat flip, and that's it. Coming up on the other side, it's Albert. He is going to join us right here on this beautiful little desk, and he's loaded with tweets, Mr.
Yeah,
Ryan.
he's less hungover this time.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
Still off, and Albert's loaded up.
Tweet.
Yeah, Albert's actually ready to rock. He's usually kind of
Tweet.
half-assing it, but he's doing okay.
Liners hater, you can take the first one.
Okay, Liners Hater will open with something that I thought was hilarious. From At What He Looks Like, Matthew Berry looks like a former clown who now owns a balloon shop.
Oh, honestly, that's incredible. That is flat out incredible.
Sometimes those are like okay.
And
sometimes
they're downright stupid.
Dead. That one's
but that
dead
one's
on.
amazing.
That
like
one's
he
dead on.
actually looks like it.
It's not as funny as any of the Jim Tom Sula ones, but
You've
it's still
got
pretty
mail.
Yeah.
All right,
good.
this is Sporting News at Sporting News. ESPN 8, the Ocho
Yeah.
will be real and will air nothing but odd sports.
Yes.
It's a bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off.
Oh, I love that. Dodgeball is a super underrated movie. That was one of the best parts of that movie, ESPN 8, The Ocho.
Yeah.
I want to see if they actually do the squirrels riding ships as a race. That would
Honestly,
be awesome.
like it doesn't matter what they do. I feel like the ratings are going to be massive. This could actually change sports broadcasting.
I
landscape.
hope it does.
It
I would
could.
love to see that.
It could. We're gonna have we could start having snail races on the gloves desk.
Just have everything odd you've ever thought about sports and put it on that
there's
channel.
many.
I really hope people watch because I think that'd be spectacular. And I think the Lebitard show would just stay on there
I will
full time
watch it
as
for
well.
sure.
At Play Ball, at MLB's youngest player, at Albie Sawzy, 97, became the first player born in 1997. Hope I didn't butcher that name. But 1997, you read that right, to Homer. So he's the youngest player ever to homer, and he's born in the year 1997. I guess that makes
Ancient.
you ancient.
Ancient.
Yeah. Does that really see your age?
Ancient.
I remember coaching kids who were born in '98.
I feel like I might just die in this chair right here.
I remember seeing kids that were born in '95 when they were like 12.
Well, listen, let me tell you, I mean, covering this national tournament, like going up to interview these girls after the games, and girls that are firing softballs hard in there when they're pitching, and then finding out after the games they're 15 years old.
Yeah.
I honestly just wanted to go under a rock and hide. Like, I felt ancient, absolutely like a relic out there on the field. A relic. If I die in this chair right now because I'm so old, will you carry on the legacy of the gloves are off?
True. I'll probably just make fun of your skeleton the whole time.
A rotting corpse
Yeah,
in the
make
studio.
fun of Lance's rotting
This is
corpse.
Ari Shapiro, at Ari Shapiro, a well-known guy who covers the Blue Jays from Ontario. I had a terrible nightmare that Russell Martin was the Blue Jays DH in 2022 and looked like a cross between Ray Liotta and Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vince, that actually is Liotta and D'Onofrio is a horrible mix.
And so was my pronunciation of D'Onofrio.
Oh, I also
there's
screwed up
mail.
the baseball player's name, too. That was a little worse. At Adam Vingan, in a first-person exclusive for the Tennessean, Predators captain Mike Fisher announces retirement. So
Sad day, man.
17 seasons. He was an underrated player. Well, never a superstar by any means, but very dependable, helped create the culture that was the Ottawa Senators. I know one of our producers, Zach, must have been a Fisher fan, and certainly then he was a big part of Nashville and their resurgence.
And now he just gets to spend all his time with Carrie Underwood.
I'd like to be Mike Fisher,
he's
too.
Still a superstar in my eyes.
Mail in the beak.
Certainly isn't Carrie Underwood's eyes.
Yeah. ESPN, at ESPN. This is awesome. So this is 5 rings, 40 years. Of course, Tom Brady just turned 40 years old the other day. On his birthday, take a look back at Tom Brady over the years. Tom Brady, as you mentioned earlier, Josh, gets better looking with age. He's like a fine wine. He gets better with age.
Yeah, he went from...
Because he was not what I would consider an attractive man in his 20s.
No, he wasn't. But
He looked almost like a caveman.
I mean, Andrew Luck's in the league, so let's not
Andrew
go
Luck
too
is a
far.
flat-out
But
caveman.
I do agree that he certainly didn't look like the sex symbol that he has been in the NFL for about 12 years.
If Andrew Luck brings out a club before his next game, honestly, I would die. He is a full-on caveman.
Well, he also, what he looks like does say that Andrew Luck looks like the guy who puts his mouth
Hey,
on the
there's
water
mail.
fountain. So. At Darren Ravel, moving on, at Darren Ravel, unbelievable battle of the bullpens during at Cubs and at D-backs
Oh,
rain delay.
this is
This
awesome,
was
dude.
fantastic. I mean, you have nothing else to do while that delay is going on, so a little bit of bobsled in there, a little
How about
bit of
the fishing?
fishing.
The
The fishing's
fishing-
spectacular.
The fishing is amazing, and the bowling, the human bowling.
Yeah, human bowling is underrated, especially the celebration of the bowler.
The horse heads. I'm a big fan of like those horse heads and unicorn heads and all fish heads and all those things at the beginning. Those are hot.
Those are
hot. Another Darren Ravel. Bolt shocked. 35-year-old Justin Gatlin beats Usain Bolt in his final 100-meter race. Bolt takes bronze. And there's, of course, the still photo of the finish. How about those two guys lagging behind? How do you feel to be them?
I mean,
Hey, we were within 4 strides of the winner.
I wish I knew more about this, but I wish I knew how much money guys who finish 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th at the World Championships and the Olympics as a result make.
They should get nothing. They should get 0.
You've got mail.
I'm not.
You finished last.
I mean, like, listen.
It's like participation medal.
I know there's if you're not
Give
first
my
or
kid
last,
a
but
participation medal because he finished dead last.
Much for me. Now this kid, I don't care what he places, he's a winner. At Men's Humor, this
awesome.
kid on a longboard using a leaf blower to go fast is now my personal hero. Yeah, he is my personal
When I
hero.
see things like this, it makes me want to like go and get stuff like that and just make it work. Just make it work.
Except you'll crash into something.
Winner loser. Next.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
There are so many winners and there are so many losers, Josh.
A lot of losers, especially.
I feel like that's not that's a negative stance you've just taken there.
Very
you should
true.
try to be more like me, upbeat and positive about the world.
Okay, there's plenty of losers. There's plenty of losers. I can't not be a crusty old clown. There's a lot of losers, man.
When you get to be like 90, which is really only a couple years away.
I will be Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino.
Oh yeah,
for
you
sure.
sure will be.
I will be
for
Rick
sure.
from Rick and Morty.
Just a racist old geriatric.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Listen, winner loser. I'll let you. Well, you go ahead. You got a good one.
Yeah, we haven't done winner or losers in a while, and as you said, there were a lot. My first loser, and I know I'm starting off on a negative note, is the Miami Dolphins.
Oh,
and
big time.
Like many other NFL teams, I think they're losers for the way they've handled the Colin Kaepernick situation. And the flimsy arguments they've given. However, this particular one to me makes no sense. You lose your starting quarterback in Ryan Tannehill due to injury, and you then have an opportunity to sign Colin Kaepernick, who's better than half the QBs in the league. Statistically, that's a fact, no matter what you want to say. But instead they go with Jay Cutler, who's been a walking carcass for the past 3 years. And the only reason there's any argument for that is because he is familiar with the coach Adam Gase. The fact of the matter is Colin Kaepernick is a better QB, and they chose the safe option, which pisses off less people, instead of picking a guy who's definitively, statistically, empirically better than him. Miami Dolphins are a loser.
What's bugging you is coming up later.
Yeah, that could have been my
What's bugging you is
too.
coming up later.
That could have been.
A walking carcass.
Yes, he is. Have you seen his numbers?
I gotta say this though, Josh.
Okay.
While he has been a walking carcass
Yes.
for the last little while, sometimes guys can thrive under new coaching. A good example of that is Ricky Ray. And I'm going to the CFL here, and I know you know I'm an Argos guy, but Ricky Ray was awful in 2016.
Was he walking carcass
flat,
awful?
He was a walking carcass, as a
Okay.
matter of fact. But he was terrible. A lot of that was due to injury, but a lot of that to me was due to Scott Milanovich and the way he coached the team. Bring in Mark Trestman. Ricky Ray is going into week 7 was the leading passer in the CFL. Was having a record-breaking year, and now is injured again subsequently. But what I'm saying is he can thrive, and I believe that it's an opportunity for him to do that. If he doesn't do it, then just take him out into the meat wagon and dump him in the field behind the stadium. Like, just get rid of him.
Yeah.
Send him to CFL.
Yeah, and then he'll fail in the CFL as well.
Might fail in the CFL.
Who do you have? You have a winner or a loser?
I got a
to
winner.
start us off?
I'm keeping this
Good.
upbeat today.
We need
My
more
winner
positivity.
today is Duron Carter of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's not very often you hear Duron Carter's name and winner in the same sentence, due to his antics primarily when he played for the Alouettes. But during that ridiculous backhanded catch that, quite frankly, makes Odell Beckham Jr.'s catches look like childish, that was incredible. He decided to give the ball to 12-year-old Paige Hansen, who is a cancer survivor, and that is winning. That's all winning. He gave her the ball. It's such a great gesture, and it's these kinds of things to me that make the CFL great. And I really think what he's done is a real stand-up gesture, and I believe we are starting to see a different side of Duron Carter. Getting away from Montreal into a new landscape in Saskatchewan might be changing him a little bit. Sometimes some new scenery can make players different. Duron Carter is winning. He's my winner.
Everything you said was correct, except hold off on the Odell Beckham Jr. comparisons. That is a great catch by Duron Carter.
There's no better catch than that. Odell Beckham
I don't
Jr.
know
has
if
made
I
some
can follow
awesome
you down that
catches,
road.
but he's never made a backhanded catch. He caught it backhanded.
You see the reaching one?
Backhanded.
I think I think to just say flat, I think you can argue. At the very least, you can argue that the Odell Beckham catch was better, if not say flatly. That's better. All right, so I suppose I should go in a more positive route before ending on a negative, which I'm going to. But I will start with a positive, which is Steph Curry is a winner for this week. More ways than one. One, he's been able to take shots at LeBron and just completely get away with it. There's no backlash to him or nothing. He's still beloved by everyone except certain players in the NBA because they don't like his baby face or don't like that he's from a rich family.
Or he does.
And he was able to do the whole, as you were just kind of demonstrating, the dance that LeBron did. Then he goes and hangs out with a college party and drinks beer and sloshes it on his shirt. Everyone thinks that's cool instead of criticizing him for it like they might other people. And then he hits it. He plays a 74 out at a PGA Tour.
Twice.
And he impressed the entire field. So pretty nice job by Steph Curry.
Yeah,
he's
that's a bit of a winner.
He's had a great summer.
Hey, before we go here, I've got one more loser. Josh Ryan is my loser for thinking that any Odell Beckham Jr. catch is better than Duron Carter.
I'll say my loser's coming up in a bit.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
Hey, welcome back. Kat Bain, Sadie Rustica, ladies, good to have you in studio after a long week of baseball. First of all, let's talk about the tournament. I know it kind of didn't finish the way you'd hoped it would finish, but how much fun was it to compete against some really elite talent?
It was a lot of fun. Like, we definitely learned a lot and know what we have to come back for next year. So.
Yeah, it's always a great experience to play top ball teams from not just like the province where you normally play, but like everywhere around Canada. It's really like eye-opening, and you do learn a lot from other players around you, so that's really helpful.
Yeah, you both have played in big competitions before. What was it like having it here at home and allowing parents to watch you as well?
It's a lot more nerve-wracking. Like the night games, you have like over like hundreds of people there watching you, and they all know who you are, and they're all cheering your name. So it's definitely like a confidence booster, but also really nerve-wracking to play in front of your hometown. So
bigger crowds, like, just really it gets to you. But
I know you're one of the younger members of the team, Kat.
Yeah.
Is that your first time kind of playing in front of that sort of crowd that is actually cheering for you?
Yeah, it is. It is like hometown, like knowing all the teams there. So,
It's also like, it's tough because I found that there was a real spread between those top 3 or 4 teams and then the bottom bunch. And then there was a bunch that were clumped in the middle that were really competitive. And I know you guys fit into that middle bracket. How did you feel about the competitive nature of the teams you played against?
I think it's any day one team could win, one team could lose. It's what team really shows up and wants to win that day. And for some of us, clearly that wasn't our day, as you can see how we finished. But for the most part, it's really exciting because you never know the outcome of the game, and it's always going to be a good game. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you'll never know the outcome of a game, so you just got to go in giving everything you got. And sometimes we came out not doing that. So, yeah, definitely gotta.
So we were just talking off camera about the final. I know you gals obviously wanted to play in that final, but was it still kind of exciting seeing that level of competition?
Yeah, it really was. Like, that level we don't see a lot up here in Alberta. Like, the BC teams, the Ontario teams, all those is a different level of ball. Like, they're really experienced, I guess. Like, not experienced, like, just always working, always training and stuff.
Is it, does it give you something to aspire to when you watch those teams? I mean, and this is probably more for you, Kat, because you're the younger of the two here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, just I look up to lots of the girls on my team too. Like, all of them I look up to. So.
What was the experience like for you, Sadie? I mean, you're gone to college to play this I guess next winter or next summer it'll be rather. But what was the experience like for you, kind of playing your last time here?
It was super great to play in front of your hometown for your last time, kind of like a last hurrah. But it was an eye-opening experience because we don't play a lot of home games during the season. So it was really awesome to have like the last game you'll play in Lloyd.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Is there a little bit of kind of bittersweet feeling in that you obviously enjoyed that last hurrah, but now you won't be able to play with those teammates again, like the one sitting next to you?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna suck, but there is talk of a U19 team, which means we'll be able to play on the same team again next year if we come back and play. So hopefully we can get that same team together and have a better turnout at Nationals next year.
One thing that I found really intriguing is the fact that, Kat, you, I believe, were tied for the lead in home runs with your teammate Tyla.
Yeah.
You had 4 in the tournament. I don't think there was anyone that had 5, if I recall.
I don't think so.
But you guys have both very different batting styles.
Yeah.
And Sadie, I'll start with you. What is it about slap hitting that works for you?
Well, for me, last year I did not do too well hitting normally, so my coach thought, let's change things up. So I decided to slap, and I just saw the ball a lot better. I don't know what it was, whether the angle I was facing or something, but my batting average went way up compared to last year, and I saw more playing time because I had a better batting average. So along with my speed, it was really helpful.
Yeah.
I noticed,
Sorry, go ahead.
I noticed a couple times you were called out because you were outside the batter's box.
Yeah.
One of those times was not the case. I reviewed the video. It was not the case. But is that a risk you run with that style of batting?
Oh, for sure. Most of the time, umps are either too afraid to call it or the lines aren't there, so they don't want to call it. But sometimes they like to make up calls or something like that. but it is a risk that you have to take. And most of the time it does pay off, but sometimes you do get called out. So
I was going to say, put in context for folks who aren't as familiar with softball, just how many reps does it take before you feel comfortable with a new stroke, a new approach, a new swing?
Well, I started slapping halfway through the season last year, and
cow.
most of that second half of the season, I didn't hit much of the ball. And all through the rest of the summer and the fall, I practiced slapping. Every day I'd go out, hit 50, 60 balls off a tee. And then I turned into this year where I was batting 300. So
it literally takes around 1,000 or more swings before you kind of get into it.
Oh, easily.
It's like the 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
It totally is.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot. Even now, like, I'm still not as confident as I could be. So I still have some work to do.
And Kat, what allowed you to find some success with hitting the ball over the wall?
Well, I was really seeing the ball this weekend, so it was just I was barreling it well, and our team was too. Tyla, like look at her, but she's always been a big hitter, and I look up to Tyla too, especially. But I was just seeing the big beach ball this weekend. So
You played some catcher, you played some first base.
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
catcher.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think you're actually better at that position as well. Yeah, I think you play really well in that position. What is it about it that you like more?
I like being in control of the game and like seeing what's going on at every moment of the game and being the eyes of the field. So
That's really
They
intriguing.
say that goaltenders and goalkeepers have to be a little crazy to play those positions. Does catching require a little bit of crazy?
a little bit.
That's called crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess when you have balls hurled at you as fast as someone
That's
throws
why I
throwing
asked-
balls
yeah.
at you.
That's why I asked the question.
That'd be like being a Major League Baseball catcher. Like that's
Yeah.
insane stuff. That's
Yeah.
insane stuff. Let's
Staff
talk.
projectile.
Let's talk schools, and we'll start with you, Sadie. You have a T-shirt there. Show the folks at home. So some Pensacola State College. For those of you who don't know, Josh Ryan, that's in Florida.
Thanks for outing me on
That's in
camera.
Florida.
Thank you very much.
What are you feeling when you think about going down there? You leave Friday.
Yeah,
What are you
it's
thinking?
coming up real quick. I'm nervous, excited, sad to see my friends like for the last time this week, but it's definitely going to be something to look forward to, and it's going to be a great experience for me and to bring back to like people like Kat and talk about it and get them excited for what they could look up to in the next few years too.
Have you ever been down to Florida, that area, before?
Yes, I actually played in front of the coach there, so I played down in Florida at their school, and she liked what she saw. So
I saw a little tribute video someone had made for you online on Vimeo, and that coach, in the short time she spoke, sounded excited to have you down there. Yeah, so I mean, you've been down to the school, obviously.
Yeah.
So what is it like when you were down there? What did you see that you really liked about it?
well, the coach, she's awesome. She's super friendly, and like I love her coaching style. So that was a huge like plus for me, was the coach. And we talked to a bunch of the girls, and they were super nice and welcoming. So that was definitely helpful. And another girl from Canada, she's actually from BC,
Amazing.
is on that team right now. So I played with her last year, and she just loved the school. So I just thought, why not?
Florida's not a bad spot to spend time either.
No.
Yeah, you'd be
I'm
used
honestly
to
a little
like
envious.
minus 40 degree weather here, and that will never happen down there. Oh my word! I'm moving to Florida.
And you're also going at the best possible
Yeah.
time, where
Yeah.
it's a little cooler
Yeah.
for everyone else, but it's still really nice for you down there.
Yeah, it's going to be a definite change from the weather here, but I'm excited for it. I love hot weather, and I love playing in the heat. So
When you think about the ball, does it make you nervous when you think about playing in that competitive ball? Like, what do you feel when you think about that?
oh, I'm for sure nervous. Like, I've played in the States a few times, and it's definitely more competitive than here. But, like, I'm not really sure what to expect totally from the team down there, but I think I'll be okay. I think I'll do good, so.
It's really competitive, and I mean, a girl like Jenna. I just lost her name now. Jenna.
Don't look for me to
Kyra went down there. She was a pitcher for Team Canada. She played in the States. Have you reached out to any girls who have experience there besides the girl you know from BC about playing in the U.S.?
Well, Tyla's sister, Jade, she plays down there right now and has for the past few years. And another girl on our team, her sister went down. So I've been like contact with a few girls, but it's a different experience for everybody. So it's really like up to the person and what they get out of it. So.
And I was going to say, Kat, you've obviously gotten a little bit of attention this tournament thanks to your hitting, but you have a few more years before you can make that choice. Have you thought about going to college in the States before? Has that been a dream of yours?
Yeah, it has been a dream of mine. I have a few schools interested, but like can't really talk about that till like time comes for
first.
that. Yeah.
Shut the cameras off. Shut them all off.
Yeah.
Shut them all off.
Yeah.
When you think about what Sadie's doing, how excited are you to get that opportunity yourself?
I'm very excited. Like, I've been working for that my whole life, pretty much. So it's just something I've always wanted to do. And now seeing girls on my team doing that, it becomes real.
What is it about your game that you would like to improve to before you get to that point?
Definitely my talking, like being louder, like when there's plays in the outfield, just being louder overall too, like even on the bench. And so
That's not what I expected that you would
That's
say.
not what
I didn't know, frankly, what you would say, but I thought you'd say something about your actual game.
Is that from just being able to communicate effectively with your players, or being out showing confidence more than it?
even like talking to the pitcher, like just getting their confidence up, and in the outfield, just making sure that they know what's going on and being loud, where the play's going, because I haven't been that loud like in the outfield, so where plays are going. So
is that an underrated part of the game?
it really is, because like the catcher, you have to be talking. You have to let everyone know what's going on, where to go, and in the spite of the moment, you're the one that can see the whole field and what's going on. So you're the one who has to know where it goes.
Okay.
How does that change, though, when you make that switch over to first base?
Well, we have Cassie, who's an incredible catcher, so she's always talking to, and I'm still very loud on first, so I try to be as loud as I can.
That's interesting. What is it about the game that you love the most?
I can't even choose something about that. I just love the game itself, and like the girls too. I love the girls, but I can't even choose. Like, that's such a question
it's
that
it's fair.
it's
What do you hate about the game then? No, I'm just kidding. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Sadie, what do you love about it?
I think that like the team factor. So you get to know these girls, they become your best friends through the whole season. And even just the confidence it gives you on the field, you kind of forget about everything else that's going on around you in your life, and it's just focusing on the game that you like love to play. So it really just gets you through life, I guess.
Definitely.
And I know we saw in Lance's report that Brett talked about the fact that when asked about next year, he was saying, "Oh, that's up to the girls." What was it like, playing for Brett this year?
I played for Brett last year as well, and his coaching style is a bit different than others. He makes the lineups based on your batting average. So if you don't have a good batting average, you're not going to see much of the field. So last year, that was definitely a huge hit to me because my batting average was not good, so I didn't play. So that was my goal over the summer, was to get a better batting average, and I improved and I saw more playing time this year. So it was a better year for me this year.
You and I talked about Brett after the game, Kat, but just kind of reiterate how you feel about his coaching style and who he is.
I feel like Brett really pushes us to our limits, and like he makes sure that we're going to do the best we can do, and I love playing for Brett as a coach. So
that was a wild week. Like, it was
Yeah.
fun
Yeah,
to
it
watch.
really was.
Yeah.
You girls had a heartbreaking loss to Ontario. You hit the go-ahead home run in the top of the seventh, and then ended up losing. But you had a couple of great games after that, and it was fun for me to watch, and I hope it was fun for you guys to participate in. 'Cause
it
it was,
really was.
I think the town really enjoyed the weekend as well.
I can
Yeah.
guarantee you that the town enjoyed the weekend. It was absolutely fantastic. Girls, thank you so much for coming in. Really enjoyed having you and really enjoyed watching you. And I will be watching Pensacola State Pirates to see how they do this upcoming season, Sadie. So,
Perfect.
yeah, thanks very much, girls.
Thank you.
Coming up on the other side, it's What's Bugging You?
Which is lots.
Something's bugging me.
Which lots.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
Great stuff talking to Sadie and Kat.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of really good ball players, and I always think it's great to follow these young players as they move on. So I mean, Sadie going to Pensacola, Florida, to play with the Pirates there on a scholarship is fantastic. I mean, that's I'll be looking forward to kind of charting her progress, see how she does down there.
Yeah, second athlete we've interviewed to go on to an NCAA scholarship.
Yeah,
Austin
definitely.
McGrath, obviously. We're looking forward to watching him in about a month's time.
I'm looking forward to seeing if you have a winner or a loser today, Josh Ryan.
Well, I mean, did have one winner. Another loser I didn't get to was Doc Rivers, who's no longer the GM of the basketball
I
operation.
said winner or loser. I guess I was just so caught up. I meant
Yes.
what's bugging you,
Yeah.
because I know
And
something's bugging
that
you.
one is not bugging me, though. While Doc Rivers is certainly a loser for that, he's losing all his power. What's bugging me is the way the Knicks have handled this Charles Oakley, James Dolan incident. So for those of you who do not know, there was an incident during the season where James Dolan tried to have security guards get rid of Knicks legend, whether you just want to say he's a Hall of Famer or not, Knicks legend Charles Oakley. He is a legend in that franchise. As a result, he was a little bit drunk, maybe a little bit drunk at the time, was objected to being
really drunk at the time.
he was objecting to being thrown out of the building and pushed security guards. They ended up arresting him, but the situation just very poorly handled by all sides, especially by James Dolan. Now, as a result, he was, of course, charged and sentenced to just basically, with good behavior, simply had to do some community service. However, he has been banned from MSG for an entire year, something that Knicks fans, of course, are furious about. James Dolan has to have some thicker skin than this. I'm sorry. You've ran the franchise not into the ground financially.
No, into the ground.
But into the ground in terms of the quality of the team. The Knicks have been a mess, and no matter what James Dolan has done, he has picked the worst people for the job, and every time he has tried to interfere on a trade, such as acquiring Bargnani from the Raptors, it turned out to be terrible. And this is one of the few guys who has come back and supported the Knicks for decades, and you as a result of not having enough thick skin to take some criticism, decide to throw him out of a building, get him in trouble with the law, and now are banning him for a year? Grow up, James Dolan. Go play with your blues band that sucks.
Yeah, I think Charles Oakley should go to other stadiums and cheer for another team.
I think so too. He can. He's allowed to go to the other 29 buildings, just not MSG. Maybe he'll become a Nets fan.
That's definitely what I'd be doing, is supporting another team, and the Nets is a good choice.
Yeah.
What's bugging me, Josh Ryan, are websites, specifically athletic websites. And I'm pointing the finger at you, Alberta. I'm pointing it directly at you. I am not going to label any actual websites because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm just here to say, get your websites together. The fact that people are trying to log on to these websites to see how their teams are doing, to see statistics on their athletes, just to find out simple things like when they're playing next, and you still have games from 2015 on there, there's something wrong. In this day and age of social media, I get it. A lot of people go to Facebook, they go to Twitter for their updates, but a lot of people still go to websites because it's the easiest way to find a wide variety of information. And the fact that so many Alberta websites do not have proper information or even current information is embarrassing. And I'd be embarrassed if I'm the person running the website. Sort out your websites, make them better so people like me and other people that I know can go on there and find the information they want easily. And if you need help, go to Saskatchewan and look at theirs because they're set up very well. And that's all I have to say.
I just want Your Honor, I have one objection. The ACAC website's not that bad.
I'll give the ACAC website a buy on this because they are fantastic. The ACAC website should be actually probably the model of how all athletic websites
probably,
work.
to be honest.
That's it.
Yeah, this has been bugging him for quite a while. He's still happy. It's a happy day.
Oh yeah, see you in 7.